Apologies there. One of my windows has got stuck on my other monitor. So anyway, sorry. Let's keep to this is the profile for cable. As I said, that lovely move that we saw on pound New Zealand. Very, very quickly, if we look at the what we see on the CSI with regard on the 10-minute chart for cable, and I've removed all the other currencies so we can just see the move in the pound. We can see the pound is still actually moving higher, but what's also happening is that the dollar is also selling off. But so far, the move in this pair really hasn't replicated what we've seen in the New Zealand. And in fact, if I just put the New Zealand on there, we can see I've also had a cross on the pound New Zealand. What we're witnessing, what we've seen on the faster timeframes, as David said, is the pullbacks and corrections that you would expect. You know, if on a slower time frame, it's the noise, if you like, that you would get in the move on the slower time frames. So I've put the three currencies on the 10-minute CSI. The pound is still moving higher. The dollar is still moving lower. We've had a cross on the trade that David was looking at was actually on this little move here from the cross on the 10-minute. So, but as I said, it hasn't moved to the extent that we've seen on the pound New Zealand. If we just scroll back to the 3-minute chart, well, this is the London Open as usual. The usual volatility candle. It's been trading around the volume point of control at 30.78. It attempted to break higher. The volatility was triggered straight back into the spread of that candle, and again a retest of the VPOC, and then up it goes. And this is as I said, this is the buying that's come into the British pound, but as I said, not of similar strength that we have seen in the New Zealand. This is the pullback that we have at the moment. Reasonable amount of volume, but we have wicks to the bottom of the candle, so we know we've got price support coming in, so there is buying under those candles. And what's also interesting is when we look at the levels as displayed by the Camarilla, we know why we are temporarily pausing, if you like, because we've actually hit this significant price level at 31. It's really 31.01, and it's kind of moving sideways. It's got to decide to move higher. It's got to break through this level. The next question is, well, where is it likely to go next? Well, we have the R4 on the Camarilla, which is at 31.32. If we move that up to the hourly chart, we've actually got 31.21. So the R4 is corresponds with the R1 on the hourly chart. So it's a reasonable price, you know, a price objective, which is reasonable to expect that this is where the pair is going to. But it will also, what it also tells us, because you have two important levels around the same price area, it's also potentially could lead to a stronger resistance. Back on the actual entry to this trade, a little bit messy cables we can see here. We had this nice move higher, but look at the congestion. Attempts to break higher, then a pullback, but generally sort of trading sideways. The trend monitor picks that up as well. It was bright blue, then it was dark red, bright blue. Then we had this little bit of dark red here, certainly around the London Open, which, you know, there's unusual nonsense that goes on there. But the actual entry point, the clean entry point, would have been once you clear this high at 30.83. You've got blue trend dots. You've also got a nice blue clean trend monitor. It has paused. We know why it's paused, because of those two levels that we have seen on both the 10-minute and the hourly chart. It's reflected by the R3 on the 10-minute and the R1 coming up here on the 1 hour. So it's, if you like, when you have these resistance levels, it means price is going to perhaps, struggle a little bit. And you're also working your way through all this congestion here that we see moving back here over this this chart here. But if it gets through, that's a reasonable target that we can expect. Going back to the time chart, we can see it very clearly. This is the high that we've got to break. There's a lot of volume going into this up candle here. So it's a much slower slower trade, if you like. Certainly not the sort of fast move that we saw in pound New Zealand. We look at the daily chart. As I said, this was the candle from Friday. Yep, you would expect that, a sell-off off that candle. We did get a sell-off early part of the trading session yesterday, but it came back again. There's quite a lot of volume gone in under that, and now it's moving higher. It is a strong signal, and as I said earlier, the seasonality for the British pound is, August has always been in the past, based on data from the past, has always been a time possibly to sell the British pound. And yes, we had an inkling of that, and yes, it provided a tradable opportunity based on that candle on Friday. But we have to keep an open mind because the buyers clearly stepped back in the US session, and it was a very nice trade to to the long side. But as always, markets always move a lot slower going higher. I know pound New Zealand was probably, a little bit of an exception. They always fall a lot faster. But, you just have to read what you see on the charts, look at the VPA signals. If you have a renko chart, certainly use it to help you with your entries. But more importantly, to actually help you keep you in, because once you're in, these dots might change, you may see a little red brick come in, but essentially, it looks like it just wants to keep, it wants to go higher, and that's what the renko will do. That's the, I think we'll do a session possibly next time, David, just on non-time based charts. We'll look at time based and we'll pay more attention to the non-time based charts where you have tick charts, and certainly with our renko charts, because what the renko chart does, it takes, obviously you don't have any wicks to the candles, but it really gives a shape to the price action that you see on the chart. It really it explains in very simply those areas of congestion. You can see trends, you can see the breakaways, you can see the reversals. We've got, you see here, we've got a lovely, and we've got almost you've got a quadruple bottom. If that were possible, you had a double bottom there. Yes, it didn't go very fast. It came back and retested. The other thing to bear in mind with support and resistance levels is you have to be a little bit flexible with them. Sometimes the price will break through and then go back and hug it. But, that is a very solid platform of support. It then went higher. And if you like, this is a continuation of the move that started way back here at 30.12. And it's a perfect example of what David was trying to explain on the time chart, that no market moves from here to here in a straight line. It will have little pullbacks, then it will have congestion, then it will attempt to move higher. And here there was a genuine attempt to actually reverse completely. Those attempts at reversals off this primary trend higher, you also have to put them in the context of the time. So if they occur around a session crossover, particularly London, it's a great opportunity for the institutions, the banks and what have you, to manipulate, to shake people out of trades. But once we've got over the nonsense of the London Open, once things begins to settle down, we've gone through the levels. This is what the renko does. This is a really yeah, and what we'll do is we'll spend maybe a session looking at the non-time based charts, particularly renko, because as I said, they can teach you so much about trends, about congestion phases, breakout trading, reversal trading. It really does have a lot of lessons. And most important of all, I think with renko, what they do is, yes, they signal potential entries and exits, but much more importantly is they help you to keep you in a trade. And let's just quickly, I'm just going to finish on this on the 10-minute because I want to see if that's actually broken through that level. Yeah, it's gone through the R3. What often happens, it will go through, sometimes it will come back again. It's just the way these levels work. I can see on the CSI quickly again. I'll pass over to David. Yeah, we've still got the pound rising and the dollar falling. So we just have to sit and wait. I'll just pass back over to David.